Good afternoon, everyone. It's about 20 to 6. I suppose that's 20 to 1 US Eastern Time. And we've finally got some green on the front page of VectorVest USA. And as you can see, the primary wave, or the short-term trend of the US market, has turned up. And it closed up there yesterday. The underlying trend is still down, and the longest term measure of the trend, as we all know now, has been down since November last year. The very first and most aggressive signal has fired. We've got 828 companies on buys, 3,000 odd on a sell, and 5,300 slugging it out sideways. The buy-sell ratio is still on its knees at 0.28. And the MTI at 0.57 tells us that we're still, even though we've run up quite a bit, we're still in a mega oversold situation. So, if I have a look at the VectorVest Composite, which I think I've got open, there we go. That's the VectorVest Composite of US. I've loaded the DEW market timing. DEW market timing's quite simple. It's very robust. It looks at a moving average. It's a 30-day weighted moving average, and this momentum study called a detrended price oscillator. It's not a proprietary VectorVest technique. It's well used in the technical analysis business. So when the any market closes above the moving average and the old DPO is above its center line 0, that prints a buy signal, and vice versa for a sell signal. The last sell signal came in on the 5th of January, and we still haven't got a buy signal. That is a really good place to get involved. Now, I've frequently at courses looked at what I call the sequence of the turn, and I'm going to go through that again, if you'll bear with me while I get the PowerPoint up. This is from the slide that I used at the VectorVest 2-day event that was done, the start of January, about a month ago. So what happens as this market turns from a down situation to a raging up market? Well, there is a very predictable sequence at every turn. First of all, the short-term trend turns up, and we have a situation where we've got an up-down. Up, the first word refers to the short-term trend, the second word refers to the underlying trend, and that's the situation that we have today. The shortest term measure of the trend is turned up, and yesterday we also got a green light in the price column of the color guard saying that the price is up day over day and week over week. So if I can get my pen out, in the US, both where 1 and 2 bases have been crossed. Now, these are still very conservative, aggressive signals, as suitable for those people that like to go bottom fishing. In the UK, we've just got the first one firing, although UK had a very good day today, so with any luck we'll get the second one after the close today. We'll look at that in a minute. Now, the third measure of the trend is when we get a little black star within the green light. And that tells us that the price is up day over day, week over week, which is what occurred yesterday, plus momentum is rising. And the black star just tells us, without having to look inside the charts, that momentum is rising. So that's the third signal. That hasn't happened yet. And the DEW, as I showed you a second ago, that's still got a bit of work to do. Then the underlying trend turns up, and then the final measure of the trend, a confirmed up, is normally the last. Now, sometimes these get turned around. In other words, the DEW pitches up before the black star and the green light. So depending on the geometry of the market, and sometimes the underlying trend turns up and we get a confirmed up on exactly the same day. But that's roughly every turn occurs like that, and you can get very used to this. This is a great time to spruce up your market timing signals and your understanding of market timing signals. So if I go out of that, get rid of all these lines, go back into VectorVest again, and as I say, that is the VectorVest composite of the US. Is this a rally and a bear market? Or are we at the start of a really strong push up here? As I spoke to the VectorVest people on my Monday afternoon early session, there was some great volume that went into the market in these days. In fact, last week was the highest volume week on the futures market since March 2020. So that's quite positive. If we have a look at the S&P 500, there is a roadblock that needs to be crossed on this particular animal. And if I just blow this up a little bit, folks, you can see quite easily that this market, in fact, has rallied. And it's rallied to that low. And it's rallied to a 50% retracement of this big move down. Now, you may not be an Elliotician, but there's lots of Ellioticians in the world, and those guys will be betting that this is 1, that's 2, that's 3, and this is 4, and they'll be betting on another leg down. And there'll be a lot of money, in fact, behind that particular view. And that's what's probably holding the market back today. So I would be much happier, folks, if I saw this market break up through this 50% retracement conclusively. We've had 2 closes up here, and that, well, if it stays the same, I think that if we do close like this today, and we've got a long way to go, and this market's very volatile, that there's still a strong possibility of another leg down here. So you have to be careful. Those bottom fissures, you have to be careful. I would like to see this market get up above the 618 level. And for me, I'm going to stand aside until I, in fact, get that DEW signal. Although I was tempted in some of the IT stocks yesterday, the NVIDIA, in terms of motor stocks, I was tempted in Toyota. And clearly, if we look at the front page of VectorVest, those of you that have been buying oil stocks, you can see that the top RT industries, we've got petroleum, and oil was holding its own, although there's a big announcement coming tomorrow from OPEC, so you need to watch that if you're involved in, they'll be coming under a tremendous amount of pressure from the big hitters in the world to actually pump more oil to bring the price down, or at least not allow it to rise any further. I have a large investment in Royal Dutch Shell, and I'm pleased to tell everybody that's up about 50% plus really, really good dividends. It's a very conservative investment, I know, and certainly many of the people in the UK have done much, much better than that by looking at smaller producers such as Serica, and there's a whole dozens of them in the US that look exceptionally good at the moment. Nevertheless, I'm reasonably pleased with my efforts in Royal Dutch Shell, or Shell these days. So just watch that 4,500 level, folks. If you see that 4,500 level giving away, then that adds a great deal of weight to the bottom being in. I think that if we get the green light with the black star in it and the DEW, that will confirm that there's a high probability that there's a bottom in and that we're going to move up strongly. So if we look in the UK, we have, as I say, the primary wave is turned up, and with any luck this afternoon at the close, after a pretty good day in London, I see the FTSE's up strongly, and the FT 250 is up strongly as well. I haven't done anything. I'm still sitting 30% invested. Slightly less than that now, slightly less than 30% invested. And again, if we go to market timing, there is the DEW And that's the FTSE here, and the DEW, as you can see, has still got quite a bit of work to do, although when it starts to move, the DPO can move with it very strongly. As you can see, we're now back above the October low, and that's a very good sign indeed. If you look at that a little bit more carefully, as you can see, this was a rising bottom. And as pointed out by some of our regulars yesterday afternoon, this is what's called a multiple inside pattern, and certainly a break above this high would be quite positive technically. Okay. Interestingly, as pointed out again by many of our Vector, we've got such a tremendous level of expertise in the Vector Vest UK group, but we got a gap down, and yesterday many people noticed that we got a gap up, and that's what's called in old technical analysis circles an island reversal, and that's quite strong. I think that aggressive people can look at taking some positions or getting their feet wet if they see that green light. But a break and a close on the composite above that level would be very strong indeed. I'm going to take the conservative route and wait for the DEW to print a buy signal. The DEW buy signal in both the US and the UK after a strong sell-off has got a very good history of predicting the future. So we put on the DEW signals here. That was a signal down, and I think a signal up here we can really move. Clearly we've got a big week in the UK. We've got the Bank of England on Thursday. Are they going to put up rates by half a point? Markets 100% sure that they're going to put up rates by a quarter of a point. Half a point would be half a point will be difficult to absorb, I think. So that's coming at 12 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen, UK time on Thursday. And then at 12:45, we've got the ECB addressing the same issue. I suspect the Bank of England will actually rise by 0.25%, and that's pretty much all in the market at the minute. So with any luck, that won't cause a great deal. It's going to cause a great deal of noise if you're trading on a 5-minute chart, but with any luck, the economy is strong enough to handle that. So a very, very busy week indeed, finishing off on Friday with the American non-farm payrolls report. So expect a great deal of volatility. My advice is that sit on your hands in the stock market unless you're a short-term aggressive trader. Sitting your hands until the DEW prints a buy signal. Of course, there's lots to be done running off the ball to work out what shares you're going to buy and what philosophy you're going to use to actually get a watch list prepared. So there's lots to do off the ball, getting yourself prepared for that buy signal. So you don't have to panic and what am I going to buy? So you should have that list, that shopping list already prepared. So I hope you find this useful, folks. I'll do my best to do another video. Again, let's go back to the real-time version, and we can see that the S&P is doing its best to push up. It's been up about 4520 today. If it can clear that 4500 level, it can really move, because I can pretty much guarantee that there's a heap of short positions there, and if it moves up much further into 4530, 4540, many of those will have to cover, and that means they've got to buy the index, and that in fact would cause it to rise, and rise quite fast as those fellows get squeezed. So thanks very much. Bye bye.